everyone. My name is Ruth, and this is our very first episode of Beautiful, Powerful Women. And today, I am so privileged to give you this amazing international keynote speaker, an inspiring leadership trainer, natural health author, and researcher, of course, and a highly successful entrepreneur with 35 years of business experience. We are privileged to have here with us Miss Teri Secrest.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm so thrilled to be in Manila.
It's so nice to have you here.
Thank
Teri.
you.
Thank you. This is history because you're the very first one for our beautiful people.
I am thrilled to be here.
This
It's
is
my
exciting.
honor to be here, and I love the Filipino women.
Hi, Teri.
Hey, it's so good to be here.
Teri, it's very exciting to know people deeper, in a deeper
Yes.
level. And
Yes.
I think for our audience to understand a little bit more about you,
Yes.
please tell them, who is Teri Secrest? What is the beginning of Teri Secrest?
Yes, great question. Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and I think to share that with you, I would go back to when I was a little girl. I'll tell you a little bit about my family. I'm the youngest of 5 children, come from a tiny little town of 6,000 people with a very big lake called Clear Lake, Iowa. It's in the middle of America. And growing up, we did not have a lot of money, but we had a lot of love. And one thing that was very unique about our family is our love for music. So my mother was a very good cook, and she would sing while she was cooking. And then she would sing while she put the dish in the oven. And then we would play the piano and sing after dinner at night. So music was very, very important in our family.
That's what I see in your Facebook.
Yes,
and then
yes.
Where you're
yes.
playing the piano and singing with
Yes,
your daughter.
yeah, exactly. And so growing up in a small town, I didn't realize that a lot of people don't necessarily have a good upbringing. I was very, very blessed to have a joyful family. And so my father was an entrepreneur. My mother was an entrepreneur. She had a cooking school. My father was so supportive that he would come home and he would peel 100 potatoes to prepare my mother for her class. Can you imagine that? And so we knew what it was like to feel secure.
Right.
We felt so secure.
Right.
So, as I became a young woman in my 20s, I used to dream about the day that I would get married, and then my mother and my father would be there for my grandchildren. So, sometimes we all have a life-changing experience, Ruth, and what it was for me was that when you have someone that is so vibrant, my mother and father were so vibrant, you think they're always going to be there. You just think they're always going to be there. So what ended up happening is that when I was 27, my mother and my father and one of my sisters were in the car, and they were driving home from an event, and a woman came driving toward them, and she was very drunk. She had been drinking, a lot of drinking, and she crashed into my parents' car, and my mother and sister were killed instantly. I was 27, and we were such a close family, and it was such a tragedy. And my father was broken, so many bones in his body. My father was not expected to live. And it was very, very challenging. So what I want to say to people watching is that in every tragedy, there's a treasure. So for me in my life, what was so amazing is that I had been raised I was a woman of faith. I had been raised in the Catholic Church, and I loved my faith, and I loved God. But I was reading the little catechism that they had in the church for comfort. I was trying to find some comfort. And there wasn't anything there for me. There wasn't an anchor. There was no anchor for me to hold on to. So as a result of this tragedy, I was introduced to Christ. And this was a life-changing situation because I had a very personal experience with Christ.
So you were praying in a church, or
Yes,
you were kneeling
yes,
down
I was.
somewhere?
Yes, I went to a 5-day conference for young people.
Oh, wow.
And I went to a 5-day conference, and I was like this. I was just like, had my heads in my hand like this, and this beautiful young married lady tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No." I said, "No, I'm not okay." And she began to share with me, and she and her husband began to tell me all about Jesus.
Right.
And you see, I had faith from my parents.
Right.
But until it becomes your own faith, until you have that one life-changing moment, and that's what happened. And so I just asked Jesus to enter my life, to take over I didn't want to be the master of my ship anymore. You know, I wanted him to take over my life. And now, many, many years later, of course I never want to tell my age, right? So I never want to give you the years. But all these many years later, my life has been so blessed, so blessed.
Wow.
And I want people to know that no matter what you're going through, your circumstance is going to promote you. You know, I believe that Goliath was not sent to defeat David.
Right.
He was sent to promote David. So
Absolutely.
that's what happened in my life.
Wow, Teri. That was heart-wrenching, but at the same time, it's victorious. It's always wow.
Yes.
With Jesus, it's always victorious.
Yes.
You think there's no more, and then all of a sudden, wow, the sun will rise up.
Yes, and you discover that he is the true lover of your soul.
Right.
He is the lover of your soul.
But you also had to choose.
Yes.
Right? Did you choose to? Well, you know what, God, I'm just going to give that to you. I don't want to carry it.
Yes.
It must be painful.
It's amazing, but here's the thing. My mother was such a good example because she lived every day like it could be her last day. She lived every day to the fullest with no regrets, and that's what she taught us to do.
That's messed up.
And so,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know whether I can ask you the next question. That was just so amazing. Yeah. Well, let's go now further.
Fast forward.
Fast forward.
Yeah.
You became a very successful entrepreneur.
Yes.
I mean, just can you unfold that to us? How can you become an entrepreneur? Did you dream about it? Did you feel like you were going to be one? I mean,
well, that's a great question. As I said, my parents were both entrepreneurs, so they taught us to think. They taught us to be very, very creative. And I honestly believe that Jesus is very, very creative and that God smiles when we use our gifts and talents. I think he smiles and he loves that. So I've always had a great love for business.
Right.
Then when I received Christ, my motivation for business was different. So it's all about your motivation. Why do you do what you do? And so now I love business. And yes, my main focus has always been in the health and wellness, teaching people how to stay healthy naturally without drugs. So this is my first book, Eating Out of Heaven's Garden, just to teach people simple things they can do to change 10% of their health and how they can have maximum impact by just changing a little thing can have maximum impact.
So for a person, like a regular person that is listening right now to us, and you know, they've been trying to go and think, oh, what would I be doing? I mean, what would I be good at?
Yes.
How did you know that you're good at this?
Well, I believe that is what is really, really critical, is to get in touch with what you are passionate about. Because God put that in you when you were a child. He put those talents, those passions, those interests, whether you love to draw, whether you love to garden. It's so important because so many people go through their life and they're doing a job they hate, they don't like, or they're just, you know, they have a humdrum job. I believe whatever you are passionate about, you can turn that into your career. So in my family, with my mother's cooking school, our whole life revolved around food. All of our happy memories were food. Yes, I know. I actually love to eat.
Really?
And so that was a very big part. And I love having people over to the house, cooking, getting everybody in the kitchen together, cooking
singing
together, and singing. We still do that.
I see it.
And with my kids, we all sing around the piano.
Wow.
And so there's just a lot of joy. And I believe that when you're in your passion, that is where the joy is. So when you're doing what you're passionate about.
So has there been a time in your life when you know you're already successful, and then at the same time you're Christian? You know, has there been were you different? No, you didn't know any better, because at that time you were already Christian when you started it. So you just became
I
dependent
think I know what you're asking me, because there are a lot of people of faith
That's right.
that don't believe in abundance, that believe that if you're truly Christian, you should be poor. But that's not what the scripture teaches. So in 3 John 1 and 2, the scripture says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health,
Right.
even as thy soul prospers." Now that word "even" is really important, because our soul is our mind, our will, and our emotions. So as you develop your business, it is really important to develop a strong mind, very healthy emotions. You've got to have healthy emotions, and a very good will. This is our character. We have to develop our character along with developing our business, so that when we become successful, again, it's about our motivation. What is our motivation? You know, my daughter was asking me questions about tithing about 6 months ago. And as we were discussing tithing and what that really looks like, suddenly she became very excited. And I said, "Why are you so excited?" She said, "Mommy, what you're telling me right now," she was looking on a map of the world, and she said, "Mommy, you're tithing into every continent of the world."
Oh, man.
And I'm thinking, when I was a little girl, I had nothing.
Right.
So when we have the abundance, if we have that mindset, we can do more good in the world than if we're poor.
Right.
You know, it's all about the mindset.
Right.